to understand the other in the way they are communicating something to you and not the way you want them. I'm echoing. Somebody has to take their thing. You have to mute us. Who else would like to share how they listen, if they're a good listener?
If I have to be a good listener, I need to not just go by the words that are being spoken, but rather try at that time to catch on the essence and even the the feelings or the emotions that they may be withholding at that time, maybe not speaking it in words, but wanting the other to understand and feel.
Okay. Anyone else? How do you do that? Okay. Right. Are you?
Sorry, can I say?
No, let him finish first. Okay. Yeah.
So being present in that moment when that person is talking completely, and like Kailash also said, not relating it to my past experiences with the person or with any other incidents, but rather just listening from a place of being neutral in that moment and present in that moment for that person.
So how do you listen to Baba? How do you listen to the Murli? You listen for Shurimat. Okay. How else do you listen to the Murli? Okay. So you listen for clarity. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm trying to bring it to the essence. So you listen to Baba's Murli for clarity with trust. Mhm. Okay. Right. Good. Good. Who was trying to say something?
Saying to me what is there for me that we understand.
Okay. And anyone else who hasn't spoken? How do you listen to Baba's Murli? How do you listen to Baba's Murli? You listen for solutions, for answers. Okay. All right. So let's listen to Baba's Murli now. And listen to Baba's Murli with the specialty that comes from you. Everybody has a unique way of listening. And I think the majority of people think they listen, but they don't listen. They hear, but they don't listen. And if you don't listen, you hear what you feel is necessary to hear. But you never are able to understand context. Everything Baba says carries a context to it. Baba never says anything outside of a context. So if you don't hear, if you don't listen to the context within which he says something, you will never understand what he's asking. For instance, he would say, consider yourself to be a soul and to remember me. But every time he says that, he says it within a context. It's a general Shrimat, but Shrimat is only given within a context. And every context indicates a method. It reminds us of a method that needs to be used. And sometimes I believe Baba calls himself a zero because he's the greatest mathematician. He's precise, he's accurate, he is to the point. And if I miss the point, I miss the entire context. So this is why he says to us, consider yourself to be a soul and listen to me. Because if I don't listen to Baba in soul consciousness, I'm not grasping the context. So every context is a soul conscious context. It's a context for the soul. It is not a context for the world outside. So a beautiful thing to do is because what is the one thing human beings will trust us for? One single thing human beings will trust Brahmin souls for. That they were heard by us and that they were seen by us. And that their feelings were understood by us. We empathized. We felt their feelings. And if we cannot do that for another human being, they will not trust us. No matter how eloquently we speak to them and how much we give of Baba's knowledge to them. The knowledge will be words. And you know what words are? Meaningless if they're not trustworthy words. So let's listen to Baba with our unique specialty. And another thing about listening, we listen with our eyes. How do I know I'm not listening? Is when my eyes travel with the sound. How do I know when I'm not listening? I'm sitting there, I'm listening to Baba, and I remember something, and I get up instantly and go and do it. That means I wasn't listening to Baba. Because something else entered the intellect, and the intellect just picked the body up and went. So that thing that the intellect is pulled to is more important than what Baba is saying to me. And there was a study with children and parents. And the children biggest complaint was that the parents don't listen to them. And so the children do not go to the parents with their problems because they don't trust the parents, because the parents don't listen to them. They go to someone else and speak of their problem. So let us use this art. It's a spiritual art of life, the art of listening in soul consciousness. All right? And that will be the end of me talking to you. It will just be the Murli now, right? So it's Baba's Murli of today, the 4th of September. The essence is sweet children. You have come to the unlimited Father to become viceless from vicious. Therefore, do not have any evil spirits in you. The question: which study is the Father now teaching you? A study that is not taught throughout the whole cycle. What's the study you're studying here? At this time, the Supreme Father alone teaches you the study of establishing a new kingdom and the study of giving human beings a royal status. This new study is not taught throughout the whole cycle at any other time. The Golden Age Kingdom is being established through this study. Om Shanti. You children know that you are souls and that you are not bodies. This is called being soul conscious. All human beings are body conscious. This is a world of sinful souls. That is, it is a vicious world. It is the kingdom of Ravan. The golden age has passed, and all of those who lived there were viceless. You children know that you were pure deities and that you have become impure once again while taking 84 births. Not everyone takes 84 births, only the people of Bharat who took 82, 83, or 84 births were deities. They have now become, those same souls have now become impure. Bharat alone is remembered as the imperishable land. When it used to be the kingdom of Lakshmi and Narayan in Bharat, it was called a new world. It was called New Bharat. It is now an old world, old Bharat. And those people who lived in New Bharat were completely viceless. They didn't have any vices. Those deities took 84 births and they have now become. So, what's the context of being viceless and being vicious that Baba is talking about? Body consciousness. They have now become body conscious. This body consciousness is the kingdom of Ravan. When the five vices entered human beings, this Ravan becomes the enemy of Bharat for half a cycle. These evil spirits do not exist in the deities. But as the deities take rebirth, those souls souls also became influenced by the vices. You know that when you were deities, you didn't have the evil spirit of any of the vices. The golden and silver ages are called the kingdom of Rama. The copper and iron ages are called the kingdom of Ravan. Here, all men and women have the five vices in them. Do you have vices in you? The five vices continue from the copper age to the iron age. You are now sitting at the most auspicious confluence age. You have come to the unlimited Father. Why have you come today? What's the context that Baba has set? It's like a landscape. And then he's sowing all the seeds of today's Murli on this landscape. So, what's the landscape? What has the Father come to do? Right. So, you have come to the unlimited Father to become viceless from vicious. So, this is a landscape. Everything he's telling us in the Murli is how to become viceless from vicious. If anyone becomes viceless and then falls into vice, Baba writes, you have dirtied your face, and it is now difficult for your face to become beautiful again. That's the face of the soul. It is like falling from the fifth floor. You break your bones. The bones are broken. It also says in the Gita, God speaks. But what did God say? Lust is the greatest enemy. The original religious scripture of Bharat is the Gita. Every religion has just one scripture. But the people of Bharat have many scriptures, and that is called bhakti, devotion. The new world is Sato Pradhan and it is golden aged. There is no fighting or battling there. How many of you fight and battle with yourselves? There's a fighting and a battling happening inside, right? So we don't want to be carrying the bow and arrow. What we want to be carrying is the flute. So you could dance your problems away or you could fight your problems. So choose. You could either see it as a dance floor or you could see it as a battlefield, the inner world. But every single human being is fighting with him or herself. There is no fighting or battling there in the golden age. Everyone has a very long lifespan there and they are ever healthy and wealthy. You have now remembered that. So we're learning the treasures within. We're only remembering what we already know. You are now remembering that. You have now remembered that. As deities, you were very happy. There is no untimely death there. And there is no fear of death. There you have everything. And what is everything? Now, when it's someone's birthday, I don't say happy birthday to them. I say happy everything. Happy everything, happy every day. But what do I mean when I say happy everything? Baba is now telling me this is what I mean. There you have everything: health, wealth, and happiness. In hell, there is no happiness. There is always one illness or another of the body to cause unhappiness. This is a world of limitless sorrow, whereas that is a world of limitless happiness. Unlimited Father would not create a world of sorrow. The Father creates a world of happiness, then the kingdom of Ravan comes, and you experience peacelessness and sorrow in that kingdom. The golden age is the land of happiness, and the iron age is the land of sorrow. To indulge in vice means to use the sword of lust on one another. People say this world is God's creation. Now, what does God say? No, this is not my creation. This is not God's creation. It is the creation of Ravan. God creates heaven. There is no sword of lust in heaven. It is not that God gives happiness and then he turns around and causes you sorrow. God is the unlimited Father. So, how could he cause sorrow for you, children? He says, I give you the inheritance of happiness. And then, after half a cycle, Ravan curses you. So Baba says, I give you the inheritance of happiness. And then after half a cycle, Ravan curses you. In the golden age, there was limitless happiness. And you in the golden age, there was limitless happiness, and you were very prosperous. So someone asked me yesterday, Baba connects prosperity to purity. What's the connection? He's answering it today. In the golden age, there was limitless happiness, and you were very prosperous. If you're not pure, nature will not provide prosperity to you. A prosperity that brings you happiness. There are so many diamonds and jewels in the Somnath temple. Bharat was so solvent. Bharat is now insolvent. In the golden age, you were 100% solvent, whereas in the iron age, you are 100% insolvent. What does Baba mean by solvent and insolvent here? He's still connecting it to the landscape of being virtuous and being viceless and being full of the vices. So what is the connection of solvent and insolvent in relation to this concept of being vicious and being viceless? Right. But what does it mean practically? How will I know I'm all virtuous? You're in harmony. Your sanskaras are in harmony with someone else's sanskaras. Yeah. There's harmony in relationships, deeply. Right. But solvency means okay. So if you solvent, if someone is solvent, it means they have total well-being. If someone is insolvent, it means they're bankrupt. There is no well-being in their lives. So solvent means here a prosperity that brings happiness. And it is a prosperity that ensures that you have health, you have wealth, and you have happiness. That's the state of being solvent. And so solvency means whatever actions I do, it's an investment. My actions are my investment into my future. And if I am living in solvency, my every action will indicate That's solvency. I will be happy. I will be wealthy. I will be healthy. Now, at the confluence age, if I'm insolvent, I will be subservient to these three things. Those three things will rule my life. I will always think I'm not healthy. I will always think I'm not wealthy. I will always find a reason for why others are to be blamed for my unhappiness or my sorrow. So I just stop to make sure that you're following the threads that he's weaving on this tapestry of being vicious and being viceless. And solvency and insolvency is very important to understand in the context that he's speaking to us today. So Baba says Bharat was so solvent and it is now insolvent. In the golden age, you were 100% solvent, whereas in the iron age, you are 100% insolvent. This play is predestined. It is now the Iron Age. By having alloy mixed in the souls have now become totally tamo pradhan. So the vices are the alloys. There is so much of sorrow in this world. These aeroplanes, etc., that have been invented in the last 100 years is called the pump of Maya, especially those private jets, right? So people think that heaven was created through science. However, that heaven is Ravan's heaven. Because people see the pump of Maya in the Iron Age, scarcely anyone comes to you. Yesterday, we had a very beautiful program at the Wellbeing Center. Says they think that they have palaces, your grand palace, you have cars, etc. The father says the golden age, when it was the kingdom of Lakshmi and Narayan, that golden age is called heaven. But it is no longer the kingdom of Lakshmi and Narayan now. Their kingdom will now come again, but only after the Iron Age. So, first of all, Bharat was of a very small population. In the New World, there are only 900,000 deities. Now, do you know that 2/3 of the world population lives in Asia? Did you know that? 2/3 of the world's population is concentrated on this continent. So, how many people you have to serve? Billions and billions and billions and billions, right? Says in the New World, there were only 900,000 deities, and then growth continues later. The whole world continues to expand. So, first of all, there were just the deities. So, the unlimited Father sits here and tells you the history and geography of the world. And no one except the Father can tell you this. Baba is called the knowledgeful God. He's called the Father of all souls. All souls are brothers, and then they become brothers and sisters. All of you are the adopted children of one Prajapita Brahma. Yesterday, I was so emotional when I went to Four Faces of Brahma, the original. And I stood there and I didn't know what was going on in me. And I'm standing there and I'm watching. And what I was seeing for the first time was Brahma being worshipped. But what I was seeing for the first time, there were no Indians there worshiping him. The ones who were worshiping him were all non-Indians. And I said, no, Baba, let me be the first Indian to worship you today. That was yesterday. So I told Prajwal to go and get me a garland. And I said, okay, let me conclude my bhakti. Maybe there's still remnants of bhakti in this soul. So let me choose this moment in time to conclude my bhakti by putting these flowers in front of you. And it was an amazing thing to watch that Brahma is the one father of all nationalities. And they were worshiping him with such reverence. Those young people, and they were mostly young people, and they were praying and praying and praying and praying and praying and praying, or chanting or whatever they were doing. And Baba was looking at them from all four faces. And it was an amazing. I think that was my high point so far, being in Thailand, going to that shrine. So Baba says, all of you are the adopted children of the one Prajapita Brahma, but all of you souls are God's children. Shiv Baba is the Supreme Father, and his name is Shiva, and that is all. The Father explains, I have just the one name, and it is Shiva. And then on the path of bhakti, people have built many temples to Shiva, and they have given Shiva so many names. There is so much paraphernalia of bhakti that cannot be called a study. There is no aim and objective in bhakti. That is for coming down. While coming down, you become Tamo Pradhan, and everyone now has to rise and become Sato Pradhan. You will become Sato Pradhan and you will go to heaven, whereas everyone else will become Sato Pradhan, but they will go to the land of peace. Every single soul has a Sato Pradhan stage. And whenever they come back in the cycle, they will reap the Sato Pradhan rewards at that time. So even if it's the last birth of the Iron Age, they will still, Baba said yesterday, be famous. They will reap the rewards. You must remember this point very well. Baba says, you call out to me, Baba, come and make us impure ones pure. So I have now come to make the whole world pure, not just you who have been calling out to me. People think that they will become pure by bathing in the Ganges. They consider the Ganges to be the purifier. They consider water in a well to be the water of the Ganges, and they bathe in that. They consider it to be an incognito Ganges, water in a well. You know what is water in a well? You know, right? You know, they dig wells to get water, right? So that's water in a well. So they would think that the water came from the Ganges. But there's also water in vats. I don't know if you have it here in the suburbs of Thailand, but they build huge vats. So these containers that the rainwater comes directly into. And so it's called pure rainwater. And I remember as a kid going to my grandmother's home, and that was the water we drank. But the well water we showered with. But the water that came straight into that container was the only water we drank, and that was pure rainwater. But we're saying all these different types of water, they give a purity mark to, because only water is called pure, right? I want pure water. So it's connected to the role of water purifying the system. And so Baba says, whatever little containers they see the water in, they would say, yeah, let's bathe with it, let's sprinkle it, let's baptize with it, let's give them a little before they leave the body. So water is connected to that process of purity. So Baba says they consider these different types of waters to be the incognito Ganges. When they go on the pilgrimages to the mountains, where water emerges from the mountains, they even call that the incognito Ganges. But that is all falsehood. God is said to be the truth. However, everyone in the kingdom of Ravan speaks lies. God the Father alone establishes the land of truth. And there is no falsehood in that land of truth. Deities are offered pure food as bhog. This is now a devilish kingdom. In the golden and silver ages, there is God's kingdom, which is now being established. God himself comes and he purifies everyone. Deities do not have any vices. The subjects are as pure as the king and the queen. So I heard your king is a little mischievous. But the king's father was very good. So do you have a king or a queen right now? Who is your reigning monarchy? A queen, the king as well, and it's a son. So Baba says, there in the golden age, his subjects are as pure as the king and queen. Here all are sinful, lustful, and angry. The new world is called heaven, and this world is called hell. No one except the Father can change hell into heaven. Here all are impure residents of hell. And in the golden age, they are pure. There they would not say, what would you not say when you're in the golden age? Connected to a few sentences before. The Bible says they would not say we are going to bathe in the Ganges to become pure from impure. They won't go on pilgrimages then. This is a variety human world tree, and God is the seed. He alone creates the creation. He first of all creates deities. Then, as expansion takes place, there are so many religions. At first, there is one religion and one kingdom, and there is nothing but happiness there. People want that there be peace in the world. You are now establishing that. All the rest will be destroyed, and only a few will remain. The cycle continues to turn. It is now the most auspicious confluence age. At the end of the Iron Age and the beginning of the Golden Age, that is called the confluence. This is called not just the confluence, but the benevolent and most auspicious confluence age. The Golden Age is being established after the Iron Age. You are studying at the confluence age, and you will receive the fruit of what you studied now in the golden age. So, to the extent that you become pure and you study here, you will accordingly claim a high status. Such a study does not exist anywhere else. You will receive the happiness of this study in the new world. If any evil spirit exists in you, firstly, there will have to be punishment. And secondly, you will receive a low status in heaven. Your worth is reduced. because of the punishment you had to get for that sin. Those who become complete and teach others will claim a high status. There are so many centers, and there will be hundreds of thousands of centers. Centers will be open throughout the whole world. You have to become pure, charitable souls from sinful souls. You have the same an objective, do you not? It is Shiv Baba alone who teaches you. He is the ocean of knowledge. He is the ocean of happiness. The Father alone comes and teaches you. This one Brahma does not teach you. It is that one Shiv Baba who teaches you through this one Brahma. This one is remembered as God's chariot, Bhagirath. He's making you multi-million times fortunate. Shiv Baba is making you multi-million times fortunate. Are these just words rolling off your intellect? Or do you feel like a multi-million times fortunate here? It's good to feel it, right? Whether you have it or not. Exactly. That's what he just said. That's what he said. I will never lie to you. It's true for him, but is it true for me? He speaks the truth. So it's true for him. But he cannot determine whether it's true for me. It's still you have to do that. He cannot determine it for you. He will just tell you what is true. Right? Isn't it amazing who we're listening to and how we're listening to this being and with what awareness? The Bible says he's making you multi-million times fortunate and you become very wealthy. You will never fall ill. You receive health, wealth, and happiness. You receive everything. Although you might have wealth here, your body would have some illness or another. Therefore, there cannot be that happiness. There is one type of sorrow or another, and that is called the golden age is called the land of happiness, heaven. It's called paradise. It cannot have any trace of sorrow there. Who gave Lakshmi and Narayan that kingdom? No one knows that. Lakshmi and Narayan used to reside in Bharat. They were the masters of the world. At that time, there were no partitions, etc. Now there are so many partitions. On every border of India, there's a partition. Every border. This is the kingdom of Ravan. It is divided into so many pieces. And when you have things divided into pieces, what happens? People continue to fight and quarrel. Therefore, there was the kingdom of those deities in the whole of Bharat. You didn't have advisors, etc., in the golden age. Here, look how many advisors there are, because people are senseless. They need advisors. Advisors are also tamopradhan and impure. So impure ones attract impure ones and want advice from them. They continue to become poverty stricken and they continue to incur debts. In the golden age, the food and the fruit, etc., are all very yummy. They're all very delicious. You go there and you experience everything in trance and you come back. You go to the subtle region and you experience heaven there. You also go to heaven. The Father tells you how this world cycle turns. At first, there is just the one deity religion in Bharat. There are no other religions at that time. Then the kingdom of Ravan begins in the Copper Age. It is now a vicious world, and you are now becoming pure, and you will become viceless deities. This is a school. God speaks. I teach you easy Raj Yoga. I teach you children Raj Yoga. You will become those in the future. You'll become Rajas in the future. You cannot study for a kingdom anywhere else. The Father Himself teaches you and gives you the kingdom of the new world. Shiv Baba alone is the Supreme Father, teacher, and Satguru. Baba means that you surely have to receive the inheritance. God would surely only give the inheritance of heaven. Ravan, who is burnt every year, is the number one enemy. He is the number one enemy of Bharat. Ravan made you into such devils. His kingdom continues for 2,500 years. The Father says to you, I make you into the masters of the land of happiness. And Ravan makes you masters of the land of sorrow. Your lifespans, when you are in sorrow, your lifespans also become shorter. There is sudden, untimely death, and many illnesses continue to emerge. There is nothing like that there. The very name is heaven. People now call themselves Hindus because they are impure, and so they are not worthy of being called deities anymore. The Father sits here and explains to you through this chariot. He comes and he sits in this one in order to teach you. So, this one, Brahma Baba, is also studying. It must be fascinating. I'm sitting here, Shiv Baba enters my body. That's Brahma Baba. I'm pretending, right? I'm pretending to be Brahma Baba. Brahma Baba is sitting. Shiv Baba enters his body, sits next to him, and says, you be quiet. I do not want you to interfere. I do not want you to even think about what I'm saying. I want you to be a total observer and the best of listeners. And Brahma Baba has to sit there, and then Shiv Baba is speaking to us. And then when Brahma Baba must have matured a little bit, then he would come in and say, wait, Baba, the children won't understand what you're saying. So then he comes in and gives an example on the path of bhakti, blah, 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 blah. And the original Murlis, it was just Shiv Baba's voice. And Jamuna Prasad Bhai got them locked in a vault in Panda Bhavan. The Murlis that we are reviewing is when Brahma Baba's voice would come in and soften what Shiv Baba was saying to us by giving his life's experience. So then the Sakar Murlis, the 5 years of revision that we're doing every 5 years, we repeat the same Murlis, right? Or the Murlis in which you hear the two voices. You hear Shiv Baba's almighty authority voice. This is what it is, no compromises. I'm speaking the truth. And then you hear Brahma Baba's voice. Okay, children, this is how I did it. Let me help you out here a little bit. Let me tell you, let me soften this a little bit by giving you an example. And so this is what the Sakar Murlis are. So he's saying Brahma was studying at the same time as he was speaking. So Brahma Baba was listening to learn the treasures within. And he had to do it at the same time Shiv Baba was saying it. So just think about his listening skills. And he couldn't miss a beat because Shiv Baba would notice. And who wants to be noticed? I'm Shiv Baba speaking to me and I've gone to la la la. He's saying, look, I'm not singing a lullaby here. Open your eyes and listen to me, like those fathers. That's why they say your father shouldn't be your teacher. But our fortune is our father's our teacher or Sadguru. So Baba says, come and I sit next to this one in order to teach you. So this one is also studying, and all of us are students. Only the one father is the teacher. The father is now teaching us. He will then come and teach us again after 5,000 years. This knowledge and this study will disappear. You are studying to become deities. You receive your inheritance of happiness for 2,500 years, golden and silver ages, no sorrow. Then there was sorrow because of the curse of Ravan. Bharat is now very unhappy. It is a land of sorrow. People call out, O purifier, come and make us pure. You should now not have the moment we say to Baba, come and make us pure. What's our commitment? You should now not have any of the vices. So that's a commitment, right? Through a process of remembrance, the vices are eliminated. And that's my commitment to life. However, the illness of half a cycle is not going to be removed so quickly. It takes time. In those studies, too, those who don't study will fail. It's as simple as no rocket science there, right? It's as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. If I don't study, I fail. Those who pass with honors claim a scholarship. Among you, those who become pure very well and then make others pure, you claim the prize. The rosary is of the 8 who pass with honors. Then there is also the rosary of 108. That rosary is also rotated. People don't understand the significance of the rosaries. In a rosary, there is first the tassel, and then there is the dual bead, Shiv Baba and Mama and Baba. Both husband and wife remain pure. They are pure and were called the residents of heaven. Those souls have taken rebirth and they became impure through the process of rebirth. They will now become pure here and then they will go to the pure world. The history and geography of the world repeat. The vicious kings build temples to the viceless kings and then worship them. From being worthy of worship, they then become worshippers. By becoming vicious, not even their crowns of light remain. That's the first thing that topples is the crown of light. And then your authority wavers. This play is predestined. This is an unlimited, wonderful drama. First of all, there is just one religion, which is called the Kingdom of Rama. Then those of other religions come in the Copper Age. Only the one Father can explain how this world cycle continues to turn. God is just one. Acha. To the sweetest, beloved, long lost, and now found children, love, remembrance, and good morning from the Mother, the Father, Bapdada. The spiritual Father says namaste to the spiritual children, and the spiritual children say namaste to the spiritual Father. And then the essence for inculcation today, God Himself becomes the teacher and teaches you. Therefore, you have to study very well. In order to claim a scholarship, become pure, and do the service of making others pure. And the second point, remove all the evil spirits of lust, anger, attachment, ego, greed, etc., that are inside of you. Make effort while keeping your aim and objective in front of you. And the blessing, may you be a carefree emperor who keeps away from any shadow of Maya by staying under the canopy of the protection of remembrance. May you be a carefree emperor who keeps away from any shadow of Maya by staying under the canopy of protection of remembrance. Those who constantly stay under the canopy of protection of remembrance of the Father constantly experience themselves to be safe. The way to save yourself from any shadow, chaya, of Maya is to stay under the Father's canopy of protection, Chatra Chaya. Those who stay under this canopy of protection will constantly be carefree emperors. If you have any worries, how do you know you're worrying about something? Your happiness disappears. As soon as you worry, your happiness reduces. When your happiness disappears, what's the result? You become weak. And then you're influenced by the shadow of Maya. Do you see the process? You worry, your happiness reduces. Your happiness reduces, I become weak. And it is at third level that you get influenced by Maya. If you worry, you're not influenced by Maya yet. If your happiness reduces, you're not influenced by Maya yet. But when that weakness emerged, when the vice emerged, oh, let me think of this one who gave me support at that time. And I turn to someone who gives me support because I was trapped in them before. And I turn back to that same trap for support. Then what happens? I'm influenced. So Baba says, when your happiness disappears, you become weak and are then influenced by the shadow of Maya because it is your own weakness that invokes Maya. If there is some shadow of Maya, even in your dreams, she will cause you a lot of distress. And this is why you have to remain constantly under Baba's Chatra Chaya, the canopy of Baba's protection. And the slogan, you know, I remember once, before I tell you the slogan, I gave the course to an American businessman. And at Christmas time, his company gave out gifts to all his clients. So he sent me a gift too. First, I'm not his client. Secondly, anyway, he sent this gift. When I opened the gift, I was shocked. It was a toolbox of all the different sizes of screwdrivers. It was a big box like that. Of all the different, those, I don't know what you even call them, those wrong things that you would use. I called him up. I said, excuse me, did you send a gift here in error? He said, no. I said, well, why did you send me a toolbox? I have taught you such subtle things. And what you send me is the grossest form, which is tools and screwdrivers and hammers and all of that. And then he said, that's the first gift I give my daughters when they get their driver's license. And they need to know the basic of doing things like changing a tire. I said, who said? He says, yes, these are the round things are for you to unscrew the thing. So he says, you need practical gifts too. You need to be practical. So today I was remembering him and this gift that he sent. And I still have the toolbox. And it became so handy, especially when you have to do things in the house and in the center and in the office. That box is there. So Baba is referring, as a father, he is saying something. With the screwdriver of understanding, he's giving us a toolbox today. With the screwdriver of understanding, tighten the loose screw. Now, what are our loose screws? Carelessness and remain constantly alert. Carelessness and laziness. So there's 7 vices actually. 5 we know about, and the other 2, carelessness and laziness. So today's Murli, the landscape is being viceless and becoming viceless and understanding the ways viciousness work in our lives. And so when you're going to remember the points of today's Murli, you're going to do it within the contrast of what it means to be viceless and what it means to be vicious. And of course, being viceless is the power of the soul. The power of the soul is in those inherent qualities. It's not the mind and intellect on its own. It's not thoughts on its own, but it's those virtues that we have inherent in us. And another thing, I think Baba was very important. I mean, he's very diplomatic. Baba speaks to us in a very royal way. Haven't you noticed? He doesn't strip us of our dignity, even when he wants us to become viceless and pure and all of that. But the way he speaks to us is that he upholds our dignity, he upholds our worth. And then he starts telling us, this is what you have to do, and this is what you shouldn't do, and this is what would work for you. And so, even within telling us we're vicious, how sweetly he spoke to us today, right? Look, children, you were happy. I've come to give you back that happiness. Your lifespan was so long because you had no fear of death. But he didn't tell us, oh, look how afraid you are of death. He doesn't come with a finger pointing to us and said, this is what you did and this is what you didn't do. And even at the end, when he is finished telling us what went wrong, he then said, but it's predestined. The trauma is predestined. So it's not your fault. Don't worry about it. And even if you choose to worry, this is what's going to happen to you. So he was taking us all through this. And, over the years, for me, what I learned from all of this is that in America, they have this saying, choose your enemies. Not choose your enemies, sorry, choose your fights. But don't make an enemy of a human being.
Choose your what?
Your fights, your battles. But do not make a human being into your enemy. So if someone is behaving in a certain way, separate the behavior from the person, from the being. Connect to the being as a soul, as a child of God, and then see that the behavior is an acquired thing that is not original to the soul. Don't connect to the behavior. Don't connect to the weakness, because that's not who the person is. The person is the being. And so if you're going to choose your fights, I call them fights, I don't call them battles, because we're on the battlefield, but we're fighting. So I'm going to choose which fight I want to have. So if you are going to be affected by that person's behavior, it triggers something in you, then the way you're going to choose to fight is to remove it from you. Don't fight with the other person. Why will you fight with the other person? And then if we want to be Bapsaman, then you will say, let me uphold my own dignity as I remove the weakness that was just triggered in me, so that I don't project that on another human being and fight with the other human being because of how they're making me feel. It's I am making myself feel like that. And sometimes you have to go the extra step by saying, Baba, I don't really want to do this for this person. I don't want to be nice to them because of what they did to me. But you have put me in a position that in which I can only accept that title you have given to me if I go this extra step, if I transcend all the things that I feel are unfair to me and do what is fair to someone else. And that is why, for me, this thing when people say, once Daddy Janki, I said to Daddy Janki, look, there's some very high maintenance Brahmins. And you really have to, the high maintenance is you have to take so much care of them. And you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to do the other. And then out of my mouth came, it's not fair. Is this justice? And she looked at me with this kind of serious look. And she says, Gayatri, you have no idea what justice is. She says, because what you just said, is that justice to say it of someone else? And then she asked me the question that I never forgot. And I asked that group, does justice come from love, or does love come from justice? If there is no love, there can be no justice. There can be no justice if there isn't love, because it's love first. And that is why the law of karma is based in the balance of love and law. Man-made laws are based on the balance of the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And the spirit of the law is compassion. And when there's compassion in the application of the law, then there is justice. And so I think that we have to be, when we're looking at ourselves becoming viceless from vicious, we also have to apply these things. And this is how I don't like to be beaten up for the things I have done wrong, and I have done a lot of wrong. Why would I want to beat up someone else when they are doing their wrongs? Why would I want to condemn them, especially in the Brahmin family? Isn't it that I also have to uphold their dignity as I would want them to uphold my dignity? And so this is today, to me, at the end of it all, I said to Baba, Baba, what you're teaching us today is the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And it makes us bigger people, right? It makes us with bigger hearts. It makes us not to be caught in the intricacies of other people's karmic accounts. Because I can't fix them. And then he says there will be thousands of centers. In every street, there will be a center. And every center and every person running the center will want to flourish in their own right. They won't want me to be holding the sword over their heads, even though it's a sword of knowledge and Srimad. They want space to grow. They want space to develop. They want, and because every Brahmin is a master, every Brahmin is a Raja, right? And they all think that they are that in their own rights, and they want to feel it. And so they don't want to feel subservient to another. And so this is all part of this process of solvency and insolvency. And if I'm insolvent, I would want to control others to feel important. But if I am solvent, I will give others the permission to be. And that was the secret of the Dadi's success. When we first came to Baba, we did not, I was never trained. I never went to a hostel to be trained. How was I trained? In our generation, go to the UN and serve. And you step onto the land and you had to figure it out yourself. It was trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. But the daddies were there to help us. And this is the deep lesson I learned. They never interfered in the way I served at the UN. Never, ever. But they were always there to support me. And I had it deep in my psyche that the seniors weren't understanding this field of service at the UN because they were not there physically. And that's how I started to be called in to the seniors meeting because they wanted to understand what was happening there. So every time they had a senior meeting, there was a part in the service agenda that I would be called in. And the senior brothers were there. And when they would ask me something, I would always start my response with, "You won't understand." And I never knew I was doing that. And then there would be such a reaction. And then I would struggle to try to explain, and there would be another reaction. I would struggle. And then one day I went to Daddy Gulzar. She was in the room and she was looking at me, and you could see she was always supporting me because she knew that could I handle these objections from the brothers. And so she was giving me, you could see she was giving me power. And then once I went after one meeting and I said, Daddy, why is it the brothers react when I try to explain something to them? And she said, well, don't you know? And I said, no. She says, well, let me tell you why. She says, every time they ask you something, your answer is always conditioned with this sentence: you won't understand. And she says, every time you say that to them, it creates a kind of a mild disturbance. And she says, don't do that. I said, well, what do I say? She says, well, you could say something like, I know you have a lot of experience, and I know you don't have to be on the field where I am, but I know you understand the deep significance of the service I'm doing. And she says, you're going to get a completely different response from them. And then I started doing that, and it was a complete shift. They wanted to help. They wanted me to understand it from their perspective, which would help me to serve in a very different way. And so it is just these little things I feel that creates the most havoc in relationships. And they're so tiny. They're just as a tiny screw that needs tightening. and it's a screw of carelessness. And it just needs that little tweak. I mean, even the taxi people who drive you, all they want is a little bit of respect. You leave that car and you say thank you and make eye contact, and they leave so happy. They're not our servants. They're doing a job and we're paying them. And they deserve to be treated with respect. And so these are all the tiny screws that we forget because we think we're Brahmins, we're pure, we're on a pedestal, and everybody else is impure, and they're down there, and we could treat them however we want. No, that is not what Baba is teaching. So we have to, pay a lot of attention, and especially this art of listening is very, very important for people to feel heard. And when you listen to them and you look at them in their eyes with love, they will be seen. And some, this is Mohini always say, when I have a conflict with anybody, she always says, Gayatri, don't you know what they want from you? And I say, what? They just want you to love them. They just want a little bit of love from you. That's all. And can't you just do this little bit after all you have received from the Yajna? After all you have received from Baba, you can't put aside their weakness and just treat them as an equal, worthy of that respect, and give them a little bit of love. They're not asking for a whole ton of love. They're just asking to be seen and to be heard. And I think the younger generation, we have to do that because they don't have daddies to go to. Bap Dada isn't coming anymore. They can't get that drishti from them, from Bap Dada. They have to go to the Sattva regions, right? And so can't we help push them up a little bit? Can't we give them the boost and say, okay, go on, go on. And it means, put them in front. It's fine. Let them shine. It's their time to shine. Let them be in the spotlight. It's fine. I don't have to be there. Actually, it's easier not to be there in the spotlight. Be incognito, but let them shine. It's their time to shine. They're the younger generation. And we all came, La and all of us, we came very young. And the daddies put us on the field. And they said, it's your time to shine. Now shine as bright as you want. And now we have to do that to the next generation. Put them on the field and say, shine as bright as you want. But I'm here for you. It's not that I'm abandoning you as you're on. Don't you think? Do you think what I'm saying is making sense or no? We don't want to be in an ivory tower of bureaucracy. We don't want to live in a jail of hierarchy. Because we're a family. Of course, there are always elders in the family, but the elders in the family don't create separations between you and them. Right? So I'm feeling this strongly from the Murli today, so I thought I'd share it. So let's close with Baba's remembrance and let us, in the couple of minutes, we'll be in Baba's remembrance. Feel what is moved, what Baba's Murli has moved in you personally, deeply, and intimately in your heart. So look into the mirror of your heart and see what Baba has moved in